Hi everybody, it's Richard here again, and welcome to my response to a video that Rob Walker put up last night where he matched off 20 pairs of artists to see which one was the best. Now quite a few people have actually done this, so I fancy doing it myself, but what I've decided to do is change the artists about a little bit. I've taken a few away, I've added a few in, and I don't think I'm actually pairing off any of the same artists that Rob paired off. Incidentally, I agreed with him on 9 of his 20 choices. I saw Shannon do hers and agreed with her with 9, a different 9, and I'm yet to watch Rachel's and Martin Harris's, and I think David Newton's done it as well. So while my video is uploading, I shall be watching their videos. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the glam rock, and the Sweet come up against Slade. Now I was going to do Slade v T-Rex, but T-Rex will always win, even though I love both of them. Yes, these are probably my second and third favourite glam rock bands, and I have to give it to Slade. What I will say about this video is I'm trying to make it as difficult as possible for myself. So I'm putting artists up against each other, which I'm finding very little difference in them, and it's really difficult to choose two. But in this case it's Slade, really for the songwriting of Jim Lee and Noddy Holder. I know the Sweet guys wrote themselves in the latter half of their career. Even though they did their B-sides, Slade were still, I think, the better songwriters. Next one up, and we have Queen, and I have put, this is a Shannon nightmare by the way, the Electric Light Orchestra, Queen v ELO. And I love the both of these bands, I really do, but if I'm being honest, Queen have to get it, just because they're so diverse, and they're 4 different songwriters, and I know Jeff Lynne wrote everything and is probably the most talented of the whole 5 of them. Well maybe Freddie's up there definitely, but I still think as a band these guys so diverse, and so they get it. So Queen wins over ELO. Okay, next up, the Jam, and I'm putting them up against the Clash. 2 fantastic bands, and again in the very early 80s, 2 of my favourite bands. But although I do love the Clash, and London Calling is possibly the best album of the 2 bands put together, I have to give it to the Jam. I think they were more consistent. I know that the Clash actually changed their sound a bit, which I wasn't overly keen on, but so did the Jam. The Jam brought in horns, so they did it gradually, whereas the Clash went from London Calling to Bank Robber, which were 2 completely different sounds. So in this case it's the Jam. Next up, I'm going to go with Fleetwood Mac against Fleetwood Mac. Now I am not bringing in the Buckingham Nicks years. This is the Peter Green years v the Bob Welch years, and I know the majority of the world will say the Peter Green years, but I'm going to go with the Bob Welch years. Although of them all, that's the best album, the Peter Green Then Play On. But I just don't like the 2 very bluesy first albums. I really do like Bob Welch as a songwriter. I thought he was brilliant with Fleetwood Mac. Bare Trees is a great album. Mystery to Me is fantastic as well, and Future Games. So in this case it's Fleetwood Mac, the Bob Welch years. The Byrds are going up against the Beach Boys. Now this was so tough. Really, the Byrds ended in 1973, the Beach Boys carried on. I've said before, I'm never too keen on the Beach Boys 70s stuff. It's not bad, I do quite like the Byrds 70s stuff, but I think for the 60s, although the best album is Pet Sounds, I'm going to give it to the Byrds. I think I just prefer them a smidgen, just a smidgen. I don't know why, it's just something about their sound, and you know, this is a great album here, and I don't know, I think maybe the first 5 or 6 albums by the Beach Boys, they were all very similar, all surf rock. I know they did change, and as they kept on changing, I thought they got progressively worse. But the highlight for me for the Beach Boys, as I say, was Pet Sounds, and I do love Smiley Smile and this Today album. But the Byrds, I just like all their 60s albums. So, well, I like all the Beach Boys as well. This is why it's so damn difficult, but I'm sticking with the Byrds. The Rolling Stones, and I'm putting them up against the Kinks. Now, this is really difficult. If it was on 60s material alone, the Kinks would win. If it was on 70s material alone, the Stones would win. But I'm taking in 60s, 70s and 80s, and because of that, it's actually going to go to the Rolling Stones. I think their 80s material is better than the Kinks, and so they get my choice. So Rolling Stones slightly over the Kinks. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put, there's 2 sets. I'm going to put an 80s group up with a group from today, and the first one is the Smiths, and I'm putting them up against Vampire Weekend. And the reason I'm doing that is I've always said about Vampire Weekend, this is the first time I've really felt that feeling about a new band since the Smiths, because you know, I collected all the Smiths singles and albums as they were released. I got into Vampire Weekend a little bit late, I got in with this album, but still the feeling of listening to a brand new Vampire Week album, well, it wasn't new, I had actually the previous 2 albums which I hadn't heard. It was amazing. This is a heart and a head. My heart would say probably the Smiths, but my head is actually going to say Vampire Weekend, because these guys are amazing, and maybe I've got a little bit fed up with the Smiths, I don't know, but I'm going to give it to Vampire Weekend. Shock horror, I know. Okay, Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, and it will not take a genius to work out who I'm picking. Suzi Quatro. Yeah, Joan Jett was so influenced by Suzi Quatro, I had to pair them. I do love them both, but I have to say Suzi Quatro every time. You know, her singles are fantastic and her albums are really, really good as well. So are Joan Jett's, but I would still go with Suzi Quatro. Right, now probably the most difficult one for me, and this is a heart and a head as well, but I think the heart is going to win this time. Paul Simon against Bob Dylan. When I was a kid, I was into Paul Simon, my brother was into Bob Dylan. That's there, I put it like that. Paul Simon's work I always thought was more consistent than Bob Dylan's, although his last couple of albums was pretty poor, to be quite honest with you. Bob Dylan's recent albums, although I haven't heard the new one yet, have been very, very good, but his 80s material has been pretty hit and miss. My heart says Paul Simon, my head says Bob Dylan, but I'm going to go with my heart this time, and I'm going to stick with Paul Simon over Bob Dylan, just. Okay, I've done this one before in a video, and this is Stiff Little Fingers from Belfast against the Undertones from Derry. Now, whenever I did this, Stiff Little Fingers won just, I think it was 2.5 points to 1.5 points. The best album of the lot is the Undertones' debut album, but I still think I prefer Stiff Little Fingers. I think they're more consistent in the albums. Although the Undertones did change their sound quite a bit, some of it didn't work that well. That's the problem. The Stiff Little Fingers sort of kept the same sound, although they tend to dilute it a little bit, but it still worked really well. So I'm going to give it to Stiff Little Fingers from Belfast. Sparks, Ron and Russell Mael against Cockney Rebel. I love the two of them, but without a shadow of a doubt, this is an easy one. It's Sparks. I love all the Sparks catalogue. You know, they had a couple of dodgy albums, but there's always something decent in each of those albums. And I have got the new album on MP3 and I still haven't played it yet. I'm just waiting to actually play it on physical copy, which has been dispatched, so I'm just going to wait until I get the LP and put it on. So Sparks wins that one. Late 80s girl fronted groups. I don't know in America if you've ever heard of these guys, but you have Transvision Vamp, fronted by Wendy James, against the Primitives, fronted by Tracy Tracy. Yes, I like the both of them. Their albums are decent. They're not fantastic, they're just decent, but their singles are all very good. But if I had to give, it would go to Transvision Vamp. I just think they're slightly better quality. So Transvision Vamp wins that one. We'll go to a 60s through the 70s, and we have the Seekers against the New Seekers. And for me, it's the Seekers every time, with Judith Durham. Voice, even though she doesn't sing everything, she only sings about half of the Seekers songs. The vocals are spread out around the group, but her voice is amazing and their hits are amazing, and I just love them, from Australia. Okay, next one up, and we're going to go with Echo and the Bunnymen, and I think Rob paired these guys up with you too. I'm going to pair them up with Lloyd Cole and the Commotions. The reason being is, in the mid 80s, these two would have been my second stroke third favourite groups behind the Smiths. So I don't know, this is a really tough one as well. Lloyd Cole and the Commotions had 3 pretty good albums. I didn't really follow Lloyd Cole after that. Echo and the Bunnymen I know more of, so in that case I'm going to give it to Echo and the Bunnymen. This is my favourite album of theirs, but the best album of the lot is Lloyd Cole and the Commotions' Rattlesnakes. So Echo and the Bunnymen win that one. Elvis Costello against Graham Parker. Now this is a tough one. Elvis Costello's work is absolutely fantastic, up to and including Imperial Bedroom, and then it gets a bit ropey. Some of it's very, very good, and then some of it's not so good. Graham Parker's work is consistent throughout, it really is, and that's why I am going to give it to Graham Parker. And this is Heat Treatment, his second album, and this is absolutely amazing. So Graham Parker wins that one. Pink Floyd, and I'm putting them up against not Led Zeppelin but the Moody Blues. Now this is another tough one. The Moody Blues' first 7 albums I love, absolutely love. I love Pink Floyd's albums from Dark Side of the Moon up to and including The Wall, and the rest of them are actually quite good as well. The earlier ones I struggle a little bit with. The Moody Blues albums, some are okay, they're not bad, there's nothing dreadful, but if I'm going to actually pick, I'm going to pick the Moody Blues, because those 7 albums are just absolutely amazing. I absolutely love them. This is Every Good Boy Deserves Favour. A favourite of theirs is actually To Our Children's Children's Children, but just by a whisper, it's the Moody Blues for me, or a whisker, not a whisper. Okay, next up, and we have R.E.M., and I'm putting R.E.M. up against U2, and these two for a while were probably the biggest bands in the world. I'm going to give it to R.E.M. I just prefer them. You know, I do like the early U2 stuff, but I'm not too keen on anything apart from Achtung Baby. After the Joshua Tree, I do like most of R.E.M. stuff up to and including Up, and then I sort of lost R.E.M. after that, so I don't really know Accelerate or any of those ones. I think there's one called Behind the Sun or something like that, but I never really listened to it. So in this case, for me, it's R.E.M. Okay, and another 80s V today, and we have the Bangles. Absolutely love them, as you probably well know. and I'm putting them up against, you'll probably guess, Haim. So the Bangles v Haim, and this was very, very difficult. The Bangles had 3 albums before they split up, and then they've released 2 since, one in the early noughties and then one I think in 2011. Check out Passy's recent video. He shows his Bangle collection, by the way. I'll leave a link to that. It's absolutely brilliant. My jaw dropped when he showed some stuff. I thought, oh my god, I didn't even realise that was available. But it's a fantastic collection. I don't know, this is really tough. At the moment I'm playing more Haim, so I'm going to give it to Haim. You know, I just think maybe they're slightly better. I don't know, I really don't know. It is so tough, but if I have to put it down on paper, I'm going to say Haim. This is their second album. This is probably their weakest album, but it's a really cool cover. But still, Haim. Okay, and 2 more, and this is from the early 80s. The Specials. If you're from the UK, you'll know what I'm going to show. Madness. 2 great singles bands, and their albums are quite good, but without a doubt for me it's Madness. You know, I think their singles are absolutely magnificent, and their first couple of albums, One Step Beyond and Absolutely, are really, really good as well. I don't know I do know the album 7, it's actually quite good too. I don't know the Rise and Fall. But yeah, I've more Madness stuff. This is the only Specials I have, which is like a double hits album. But yeah, Madness for me. And one more, and just for fun, and I always have to get a guilty pleasure in, and CDs, and I'm going to go with Sugar Babes against Atomic Kitten. What a choice, what a choice. I don't know, I'm going to give it to Atomic Kitten because I love Whole Again, which was written by Andy McCluskey, or co-written by Andy McCluskey of OMD. In fact, that whole first album was co-written by Andrew McCluskey. So there you go. So a great thread, Rob. I don't know whether I've done it right by changing it at all, but I thought, you know, rather than do the same ones over and over and over and over again, I thought I would make it difficult for myself. Okay, that's me for now. Hope to have another video quite soon. All the best now. Bye bye.